Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Alliance. I'm Chris. I'm here with another three questions, which is where we do a series where we explore how God is using women in the PCA. And we are here with one of my favorite people. She does all kinds of things. Her name is Katie Polski, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. Tell us about yourself.
I'm Katie. I'm married to Chris. We live here
Not
in
me.
San Francisco. Not this one, right?
Not
Although,
this.
will say I had to change on my phone. There were a couple times long ago I texted you and meant to text my husband. So you're C. Gordon. Yes.
Good.
Uh, Married to Chris Polski, who's a pastor at Trinity Church in Kirkwood, Missouri. We have three kids and one son-in-law. So Ella and Cooper live in Chattanooga. Jonathan lives with us. He works in sales, and Lily is almost 17, a junior in high school, and already ready to go to college. So next year should be interesting. But
Which is crazy because in my head, your children are like in middle and elementary school, but somehow
yep,
they decided to just keep growing.
no, it happens.
So I would love to hear if you could tell us, first question, what's your little corner of the kingdom? Tell us some about it and what you do there.
Yeah, so I serve as the music director and special events coordinator at Trinity, where Chris is the pastor. My journey was a little bit unexpected. I played piano in high school, but I hid it because I wanted to be known as an athlete. I was a basketball player. But Sandra McCracken, who many know, led our school's worship band, and she knew I played, so she encouraged me to step into that role. And leading in that way was just a really formative experience for me. So I decided to pursue music in college and also try to play basketball. But an injury ended my basketball career early in college and led to just a really difficult season of depression. So I abandoned music altogether, entirely, and I shifted to an English major. That led to a passion for writing, which actually opened up many doors for me through the years. So I'm grateful for that. But I avoided piano for years. And then when my husband planted our church here in St. Louis, they needed a pianist. So playing again kind of just rekindled my love for worship. And then in 2017, I officially became Trinity's part-time music director, a role which now has evolved into a full-time position and has expanded into other leadership and service opportunities. So it's just been a joy to serve where God has placed me. I'm so grateful.
After not saying yes for a long time, he
Yes,
has
that's right.
just
Yeah.
like made you do it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
I love to hear it. Yes. And she's not going to say this about herself, but Katie writes wonderfully. She has a blog, she's writing articles.
Thank
She
you.
has lots of things that are good for all of us that she decided to be an English major. Okay. If you could tell us one story about how you've seen God use you or the ministry you're involved in lately, what would that story be?
Yeah. Well, I first have to just say that as a music director, I see my job as ushering our congregation to Jesus through worship. So my measure of success is pretty simple. Did the people sing out? I always think of Psalm 34:3, magnify the Lord together.
Hmm.
So fostering that environment is my mission. And I love doing that through what I always call Christ-centered and hospitable worship. And lately, I've seen God working in and through the musicians at our church. Just they're growing in understanding of Christ-centered, hospitable worship. And it's inspiring for me to see their willingness to serve the body week in and week out by using their instruments and their voices. And not because they're paid, but because they love worship and they desire to lead our congregation well in it. So it's inspiring to me. And then our annual concert series, which has been just a really powerful outreach tool, has exposed our congregation to all sorts of different musical talents, and I've loved that. We had one attendee share how a song of lament that he heard at a recent concert resonated with he resonated with it because he was going through some workplace struggles, and it just reminded me of how God speaks to us through all kinds of music in all kinds of situations. So not just kind of the joyful songs or joyful situations, but songs of lament, songs about work, like in this case. But his common grace is seen and magnified in the work that I'm in, and it's a powerful testimony to me, and I think to others.
Oh, for sure. It's
Yeah.
really encouraging. Yeah. I mean, even just being at one of the concerts
Yes.
was lovely for so many reasons. Okay, third question. What can we who are listening and watching on the outside, your PCA brothers and sisters, how can we encourage you in the work that you do to keep going and to keep putting in the hours and the time and the effort? What would be helpful?
Three things came to mind when I saw that question. Very brief. The first is um, just to value and support musicians and artists in your church.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize their work, pray for them on Sunday mornings, name their vocation, and maybe create spaces for them to grow or to contribute, and in all different ages. I know of one church who has a hallway. It's so cool. Walking down it, but it's a hallway dedicated to their artists. And then what they do is they display differing works throughout the year. And it's a beautiful way of saying to these artists that the talents that God has given them can be used for his glory to advance the kingdom. So recognize the artists and musicians. And the second thing I'd say is broaden your perspective when hiring music directors. Um, while it is true that you have to have musical ability, right? And formal music training is beneficial. But I would say what's equally important, and I might even argue more important, is theological depth, leadership, and understanding of congregational worship.
Mm.
So many of the job descriptions that I see require a music degree,
Yeah.
and assume that if you have a music degree, you will do well leading worship, and that's not always the case. It doesn't one doesn't necessarily translate with the other. So churches might just consider broadening their perspective if they're looking for a music or worship leader. And then the last thing, this is just more personal. I'd encourage my brothers and sisters to consider compensating their pastors' wives who take on significant ministry roles in their church.
Mhm.
I know that's kind of a rabbit trail. It's a little bit different than my job per se, but there are a lot of pastors' wives who have to work to support their families, and if they are called to serve, and especially if they feel a personal call to ministry, even outside of what they're already doing alongside their husbands, their labor should be acknowledged.
Mm.
So just something to consider. I did what I did for a long time alongside of my husband until um, the session said, "Hey, we should make you an official part of the staff," which I'm
Yeah.
grateful for.
I'm glad. You're not the first to say it either in this series. It's helpful to hear. Thank you for your time, Katie Polski. Thank you for what you're doing.
Of
We
course, thank
appreciate
you.
you.
Thanks for the conversation.